Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. We are about halfway, a little over halfway through June, so I figured I would do a mid-year wrap-up. I've seen a few people do these. This is like a frequent video that people do. I am going to be using the questions from Rachel Catherine. I'll link hers down below, but I just took her questions and I'm just going to answer them with my answers. So this is just a good opportunity to talk about some of the books I've read so far, some of which may not get mentioned by the end of the year. We'll see, depending on what books I read by the end of the year, but it's just a good time to talk about some of the books that I've read, some of the books that I've loved, and some of them that I'm hoping to read in the next half of the year. I will list all the questions down below in case you have a channel and want to do yours. If you do, please send it to me, let me know. First question is, what is the best book you've read so far in 2024? And I had a few that I could pick. I'm trying my best to not repeat books throughout this video, so hopefully there's not too many repeats. But the book that I chose for the best book I've read so far was actually Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. This is my first T. Kingfisher ever, and it was kind of a random pick to read this book. I was in the middle of reading like my Nordic Noir video that I did at the very beginning of the year, and I just wanted something quick and fun, and this delivered so well. It's obviously 5 stars. It's my favorite book of the year, but it is just this cute little fairy tale about this little, what is she called? Her name's Toadling. She's like a little fairy that is protecting a castle and a tower, and she just doesn't want anyone to come around. And then one day this knight shows up and tries to fight his way into her tower, and she's just like, please go away. And then it kind of goes from there, but it is just such a cute little fairy tale. I thought it had a great plot. It's super short. It's only what, 111 pages, but I thought it was so impressive how much world building she was able to work into just such a short little book, and I definitely need to read some more T. Kingfisher because I thought this was amazing. Alright, the next question is, what is the best sequel you have read so far? And I feel like you can define sequel different ways. The one that I picked for this book is The Missing of Claire de Lune. This is book 2 in the Mirror Visitor series, so it's the sequel to Winter's Promise. I think that this is the best book of the series. So if you don't know about the Mirror Visitor, it's the world is broken apart, and there's all of these different, what they call arcs, that are just chunks of the earth floating around the core. Each arc has a different set of magic. And you're following Ophelia, who lives on an arc all around inanimate objects, so she can travel through mirrors, she can read the history of an object just by touching it, and then she gets put into a forced marriage with someone from another arc, and you kind of follow it from there. This one gets very into court intrigue, she's solving a mystery. It's just super fun. You're following this like slow burn forced marriage situation. You're learning a lot about the world and different powers that exist. It's just super fun. Unfortunately, the series goes a little downhill after this book, but this one is definitely the best sequel that I've read. The next one, I don't actually have the book, but the question is, what is a new release that you haven't read yet but you want to? And I picked for this one The Hedge Witch of Foxhall. I don't know a ton about this. I saw Carrie recommend it, and she pretty much sold me. She described it really similar to how she described Thornhedge, which I also got as a recommendation for her, and so I feel like I need to read it because I really ended up loving that one, and she described them almost the exact same way. So really interested in that one. Honestly, I'm not even sure if that came out this year, if it was like the end of last year. I think it was this year, but that is one that I would like to pick up and read at some point. Okay, and then the next question is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And this book actually comes out in a couple days when I'm filming this. It's very close to coming out. But that is Children of Anguish and Anarchy. It is the 3rd book in the Children of Blood and Bone, or the Children of Orisha trilogy. I read the first 2 books at the end of, or kind of mid to end of last year, and I loved them. They're so good. Basically, you're set in kind of a Africa, like a Western Africa setting, but it's fantasy. And essentially the world had magic. The king came in and he got rid of magic. And you're now following some characters who get the opportunity to try and bring magic back. And so that's what the first book is about. It ends up off on a crazy plot twist. I went into the second book. It ends up on a crazy plot twist. And now I've been having to wait for the next book. So I read the second book probably in like fall, winter. It was towards the end of last year. So it's been about 6 months that I've been waiting for this third book. And I can't wait for it. I'm going to reread the first two before I read that one. And I'll probably make a whole vlog about it. But I love those books. That is definitely the biggest one. In fact, that's probably the only new release that I'm really like looking out for. I'm sure there will be other ones that come out, but I don't know of them. That's the only one that I have been so excited for. I pre-ordered it. Can't wait. Biggest surprise for me was The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. This one was super big on like TikTok, YouTube, all the things. It got super viral and I wasn't sure if I was gonna love it because a lot of the books that go viral I feel like just aren't my cup of tea. So I wasn't sure. The other thing is that I also listened to it on audiobook, and that was kind of one of the first books that I listened to as an audiobook on my own, and so I still wasn't quite sold on the whole audiobook thing yet. So those two things combined, I went in with pretty low expectations, but I ended up really enjoying this book. If you don't know, the title kind of gives you a hint at what it is, but basically this guy wakes up, he has no memory, he's going about this day, and he eventually has to try and figure out how Evelyn Hardcastle died. He's waking up in multiple bodies throughout this thing, like every day he wakes up in a new body, and he has to try and solve the murder. I don't think that's any spoilers, I'm pretty sure that's all in the back, but I was surprised at how much I really did enjoy it. The audiobook narrator was really good. I thought it was great. Alright, the next one is my favorite new author. So either one that is a debut author this year or one that is new to me. I chose one that is new to me. She's definitely not new to writing, and that is Chloe Gong. I read These Violent Delights duology. I listened to it on audiobook and I really enjoyed it. So she is definitely one that I will continue to read her other books coming up. The next question was newest fictional crush, and I feel like I don't really have one because a lot of the books that I've read have had quite messed up toxic love interests that you're like, that's cute for you, I like it in the context of the story, but I'm not crushing on them. If I was forced to pick, I would say Roma from These Violent Delights, but I don't super have one. A book that made me cry. This one I struggled with. I don't really cry from books. I also don't really read sad books. Like I kind of intentionally am not seeking out books that make me cry. The book that got the closest this year was The Storm of Echoes. This is the last book in the Mirror Visitor series. And it almost was more so like this is the closest I've gotten to crying, almost more so out of frustration than actually being sad. It was just one of those endings where you're like, these characters have been through so much. I just wanted them to have like a nice, tidy, happy ending. But it leaves it with a very open ending where multiple characters die right at the end of the book and it just isn't talked about. The characters are not in like a nice, happy, settled place at all. So this one had me pretty frustrated, and this is probably the closest I got, but I wouldn't say that any books actually made me cry. Then on the flip side of that is a book that made you happy, and one that I've been super enjoying is over the last couple weeks, I've listened through the entirety of the Sisters Grimm series. These are books that I loved when I was a kid, and it's just so fun to go back and revisit some of your childhood favorites, and it just has made me happy. These basically are, you're following the great grandchildren of the Brothers Grimm. It's two sisters, Sabrina and Daphne. Their parents disappear, and then they go through about 1.5 years in foster care before somebody shows up claiming to be their grandma, who also claims to live in a place where fairy tales are real, and she is a detective. And so you're kind of following that. I've listened to all, how many books are there? 8, 9? I think there's 9? There might be 10. books in that series in the last few days that they're all like 5 to 6 hours on Audible, and they're all in the Audible Plus catalog, so I've just been cruising through them, but they've just been really fun. I highly recommend always going back and revisiting some of your childhood favorites. Okay, the next one is the most beautiful book that you have bought or received this year, and that one is the easiest pick I've had, and that is the illustrated version of The Hobbit. My in-laws got me this for my birthday this year, and it is so beautiful. It's making me want to reread The Hobbit. But there's a look at the cover. It's got this nice gold foiling, and then inside of it you have all of these fun illustrations of the different characters. I'll try and just show you a few. Some of them are even like full page illustrations, but it's just so fun. I think the art style is so fun, but this is definitely the most beautiful book I've received this year. The next question is, what are some books that you need to finish by the end of the year? So in the next 6 months, what are some of the books I'm committed I'm going to read them? One of them is City of Bones. This one is actually on my like 2024 TBR. Not all of these books are necessarily on that, but this is one that I really want to start diving into the world of Cassandra Clare this year, and so this is where I've decided to start. I'm following the reading order that is on her website, and this is where I'm starting. So this one I am finishing by the end of the year. I'm set on it. I got it for Christmas, so I've had it for a while. I need to read this one by the end of the year. The next one also is one I actually got for Christmas, and this is The Fisherman King by Katrina Modad. This one I specifically am saving for a video, and that's why I haven't read it yet. If you don't know, I have a series on my channel where I'm trying to read a book from a country, or a book from an author from every country in the world. And so this is one for a Southeast Asian author. I believe she's from Brunei. I don't actually know how to say it. I will figure that out by the time I film that video, but I need to get a few other books to go along with this one before I film the video, so that's why I haven't gotten to it yet. I also did Asia pretty recently, so I've been kind of taking my time before I get back around to it, but this one I need to do by the end of the year. It is so pretty too. This one's definitely would be a contender, except that I got this one last year because I got it for Christmas, but I'm excited about this one. This is happening by the end of the year. And then I just had 2 more, kind of revising my 2024 TBR, I guess, here, but I need to read something by Agatha Christie. She's my favorite author probably ever, and I have yet to read anything by her this year, so this one is the next one that I plan on reading. It's 5 Little Pigs. I found it at a thrift shop, so this is going to be my next one. This needs to happen soon. This is actually on my TBR for this month. We'll see if I get to it, but this needs to happen. And then the last one is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I listened to the first, I don't know, maybe even a third of it on Audible, but the narrator was just driving me crazy. The character is already a little bit annoying. The narrator was just making it 10 times worse, so I took a pause from that. I started that in like March. I need to finish this before I forget everything that I read already of it, but I want to finish it physically. So this is another one that needs to happen by the end of the year so I don't forget everything that I already listened to. Okay, next question is, what books do you want to reread this year? I've obviously been spending a lot of time this year rereading things. I'm rereading War and Peace. I reread The Sisters Grimm's. But one more that I really want to reread is the Wondla trilogy. This is by Tony DiTerlizzi. I never know how to say his last name. But he's also the author of Spiderwick Chronicles, is where you might recognize him. But this is a sci-fi, I don't know if it'd be YA or like middle grade, somewhere in between there. I think it's, I don't know, I would say it probably fits decent in YA. But basically it is, the earth humans have gone extinct almost, and aliens have come and taken over Earth, and you're following one of the last humans who has been grown and raised in a lab. Her name is Eva 9, and her like bunker that she grows up in gets destroyed, I think. Hopefully that's not a spoiler. That happens very early on. And then she goes and starts exploring the world and getting into all sorts of trouble. And it's really good, and I'd really love to reread them. So that's the Wanda trilogy. That will hopefully be happening by the end of the year. The next question is favorite author so far this year. I feel like I haven't actually read a lot of repeat books by like multiple books of an author unless it was a series, which I don't know if that even really counts. But I would say I think my favorite author so far this year is Brandon Sanderson. I've only read one Brandon Sanderson this year, unless you count the part of Skyward that I read and the part of what it's called, Alcatraz and the Evil Librarians. I'm also partway through that book. Need to finish that. But I also read The Way of Kings, which is the first book in the Stormlight Archive, and that one is huge. But Brandon Sanderson is just a safe author. Like, you just know every book you pick up from him is just gonna be good, regardless of what it is. So probably my favorite author so far this year. The next one is books that I've been putting off. And this is not necessarily me committing to read these books anytime soon. But I do have two books that I feel like I'm kind of putting off. The first one is Frankenstein. This one I'm mostly putting off because I want to read it in October, around Halloween. I did get it last year and I was fully planning on reading it, and then I just kept putting it off and just never did. So I need to make this happen this year, but I don't even know why I'm putting it off. I just never got around to it last October, and now I'm putting it off till October again. So in October I need to read this book. And then the other one that I'm putting off is Children of Dune. This is book 3 in the Dune series, and I am putting this one off because I didn't love book 2. It gets a little weird, and I get why it got weird. I've read all the stuff about like what the author was doing with it. He was mad that everybody was making Paul Atreides out to be like this messiah figure. He's the hero. And Frank Herbert was like, no, he's not supposed to be the hero. Like, this is supposed to be a book about the faults of making someone like a messiah character. And so then he really tried to drive that home with Dune Messiah. And it just got weird. And so I didn't love it. So that's kind of why I've been dragging my heels on this one. I need to get to this one before I completely just don't remember anything about the other ones. But I just am nervous that this is going to be more like book 2 than book 1, and that I'm not going to love it. But I own it. I just need to read it. I think there's only, is it 4 books total? I don't know. I think I'm close to being done with like the main series, so I should just go for it and read it, but I have been putting it off. The next one is a book that you enjoyed that had mixed reviews, and for this one I chose The Fury by Alex Michaelides. Is that how you say his name? I don't even know. I feel like this one has gotten a bit of mixed reviews. He kind of switched it up a little bit from how his other books were written. If you don't know, he also wrote The Silent Patient and Maidens, and both of those you were definitely following the like psychologist, I don't know, what are they technically? I don't know, but they're like the main characters. This one has a very different voice. You're following one of the people that was involved in the crime, and he's a very active narrator. Like, he's like, sit down, let me buy you a drink. Lots of times he'll interrupt things and be like, whoa, I'm getting ahead of myself. Stuff like that. And I think a lot of people haven't loved that it's different from the other books. I think a lot of people were expecting it to be similar. I personally really enjoyed it. I do see how it's a narration style that might not work for everybody, but I thought it was really fun. It does tie in with the other 2 books, which I thought was fun, and I thought it was really interesting how he did that in this one. I thought it was really fun. Basically, it's this movie star that invites everyone to her private island in Greece, and then she ends up dead. And you're solving the mystery. Yes, the narration style could put some people off, and it has put some people off, but I really enjoyed it. The next one is a series that you want to finish before the end of the year. So not necessarily just a book I want to finish, but a whole series I want to have done. And I picked 2. I think I can commit to these 2. The first one is the Shadow and Bone series. I for sure want to finish the original trilogy. If I can get to 6 of Crows, that would be awesome. But I for sure want to finish this. I have read the first book, so I just need to get the other 2. I really enjoyed the first book, and I was gonna go right into the next ones, but then I got reading things for other videos, and now I'm kind of like, do I just wait till fall or winter? Because I feel like this fits that vibe. But I don't know, we'll see. I definitely want to finish this series by the end of the year. And then the other one is Renegades, which I actually read last year. It's been a while since I read this, but I've kind of been in the mood lately to try and read the next one. I feel like it wasn't a book where I immediately wanted to go into the next one, but I'm feeling ready now. So I need to go and get the next book, but I do feel like sometime probably soon while I'm in the mood, I will at least pick up the next one. I think it'd be nice to finish this trilogy and have it done and off my plate by the end of the year. So I'm committing to a lot of things that I want to have done by the end of the year, but hopefully I can get to them all. 5-star predictions. This one's hard, especially because I don't know totally all of the books that I want to read on the next little bit. I do think that I will have a 5-star book at some point in Shadow and Bone, whether that's in the original trilogy or in Six of Crows. I loved the first book enough that I have a feeling at some point there will be a 5-star in this series. The other one that I am expecting to be 5 stars, and I really hope it is Children of Anguish and Anarchy. It's the last book in a trilogy. Lots of times the last book tends to be the best. I'm really hoping it doesn't let me down. It's my most anticipated release. I think it's gonna be 5 stars. The next ones aren't necessarily specific books, but it is, do you think you'll reach your reading goal and are you going to change it? I set my reading goal for 50 books. I am currently sitting at 38. So I'm 15 books ahead of schedule. I definitely am gonna reach 50 by the end of the year. I don't think I'm gonna change it. I would rather have a lower goal and exceed it than bump it up and not reach my goal. I also have several big books still that I may or may not try to get to this year, and so I don't want to make myself choose small books just to get to a number, so I'm going to stick with 50. And then last question is, do I have any new goals for the rest of the year? And I don't have any new goals, but looking at the ones that I set at the beginning of the year, the one that I'm definitely not on track to reach is reading 8 nonfiction books. I have only finished 1. So I need to refocus on that, pick a few more nonfictions, doing some more of my books from around the world challenge should help me. I end up reading a lot of memoirs and stuff for that, so I'll probably try and get a few more of those. That's the other goal that I need to look at. Let me pull that up. I had hoped to do 6 videos for that. I've done 2, so I'm a little behind schedule on that. So I think that those 2 will kind of go in hand. I need to focus up a little bit more on reading that. Really, I just need to get through War and Peace, and then I'll be back on track of getting through some stuff. But that's a look at some of the books that I've read, some of them that I am hoping to read by the end of the year. Let me know what you think, if you have read any of these books and also enjoyed them, or if you could convince me to read any of the books that I've been putting off, especially Children of Dune. I would appreciate it. Let me know if that one's actually worth it, but I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next one, hopefully very soon. Bye.